Hello all, hope you enjoyed that solo essay. It was a very nice and fun challenge. The build is pretty similar to the Science Odyssey build I've shown and discussed before. The main changes being I've swapped to the Temporal Operative Specialization tree for my primary spec tree. If you want to look over the build or hear my previous discussion, check out the links in the description. So with that in mind, let's jump over to the tactics used. Okay, so to start, I go in targeting the cube. I pop an exotic battery right before I hit my tractor beam repulsors and my feedback pulse, and my keybind that hits Delta, fire at will, chemo, then tac team. I'm pulling everything towards me, hoping to get a GDF, but I don't want to necessarily go and get a really low GDF right now, because I'm trying to take advantage of the continuity ability from the Tier 4 of the Temporal Operative tree. It triggers when you are taken to or below 10% HP. It's this lovely causal glitch 2 that's the really big thing here. So, if I hit my GDF before that goes off, my GDF will get a 50% cooldown reduction. Now let's go back to the run. You see I get that crap GDF. I hit my alpha right before the cube took me down because that then reduced the cooldown of my alpha. You see it's at 40 seconds by the time I get to the left transformer. And you see my go down fighting here is already significantly cooled down. That timing and getting that down is significant for DPS. And especially in a run like this. Left side, I'm hitting the same rotation. I've got beta up. Beta ideally at the sides because the transformer and those generators are not going to shoot at you. So I'm trying to position myself so I can hit all of the generators, which works successfully there. Of course, got the weapon system aura on. I don't need the threatening one to track fire because I'm the only person in the map. As I head over to the sphere spawn, you'll notice the cooldowns, most things are already down. I'm using tractor beam repulsors, feedback pulse, normal stuff, what you want to hit on spheres. You never want to hit your feedback pulse at the side. That right there, this little circle you're seeing come out, that is the Nukara web breakers. And I think this is the only one I hit in this run, and it gave me 800 DPS. They're a device you can purchase from the Nukara reputation. They're a bit costly, so I wouldn't recommend them in most cases, only when you're really going at a record. They're like 1500 Dillapop and a common DOF and some other stuff. But you see the DPS of mine spike up there, 252, and the reason for this is, even though I'm not specifically targeting the gate, me stopping on those spheres results in the gate shooting at me a little bit. And with feedback pulse up, being heavily buffed, feedback pulse is reflecting quite a bit. Go over to the right side, my alpha is back up. I have the ability to hit my second GDF. Though right now I'm saving it for when I get more towards the tac cube and gateway portion. I'm hitting Quantum Singularity here instead of using it later to buff my feedback pulse because I'm trying to not get Invincible to trigger quite yet. I want to save the Invincible trigger for just later on when I'm going for that final GDF. Positioned once again to hit all the transformers, the generators. Positioned right above the transformer and to the side a little. With it down quite a bit, I get my GDF there. It was a 5%. I try to hold out as long as possible before I hit my Kabali console and other heals, because I'm going to need those here shortly. As I head back to the center after the right side has gone down, I've got that nice group of spheres right there. I should have hit a Nukar web breaker, but I forgot. I also hit the anti-time entanglement field on the gateway instead of the sphere spawn on accident. And it looks like I tried to hit a Nukar web breaker right there, but it misfired. Doesn't really matter much anyways, because the spheres were all dead. And I've got sensor analysis on the gateway. Trying to take the gateway down. I've got fired my mark on the tac cube because the tac cube's going to be up longer. The gateway will be popping any second. Right now I'm just trying to move just a little bit, stay alive. Hitting heals. Just waiting for that feedback pulse to get back up to help me take down the tac cube. And that's it. Next up, let's take a look at the parse. Combat time was 166.9 seconds. Let's open up the player combat analysis report window. The parse will be available in the description down below if you want to take a look at it yourself. Top damage source, feedback pulse 2, 61.8k. I know there's going to be people asking how I get feedback pulse so high. So that's just simply the amount of damage buffs I have from being attacked, the amount of debuffing I was doing. Properly timing it. I've seen people hit it at the sides, and you hitting feedback pulse at the sides just killed your feedback. You're not going to get any good numbers out of feedback if you're hitting it at the sides. You want to be hitting it on the sphere spawns, the start, and definitely at the end with the tac cube and the gateway. You gotta be hitting it there if you want high numbers. Next up, Coalition Disruptors. Fire at Will 3, 60.5k DPS. Those are my personal preferred weapon type. I'm running 7 of those with the Terran Rep Beam. It's a pretty nice combo. And the FAW ratio in this run was actually pretty nice. 60k FAW to 26k non-FAW. It's not the best, but for what this run was, the amount of debuffing, it's pretty good. Plasma Explosions did 37k. That's due to 8 beam rays, the amount of damage buffs, and the just amount of debuffs I was running. Entropic Rider is the tier 1 ability from the temporal specialization on the space side. And it did 16.4k. Personally, I think that alone may make up for dropping the intel tree as your primary. It's a pretty nice ability there. Pretty nice proc it adds onto your weapons. The other thing that makes it worth it is the continuity ability, which I mentioned just a few minutes ago. Tractor beam repulsors did not exactly contribute that much, only 6.1k DPS, but it was triggering control amplification from the skill tree, so that's a nice little debuff. And it was pulling things closer to me for when I'm hitting Tetrion Cascade, trying to get a GDF, that Nukar web breaker, or trying to get enough things in range for the timeline stabilizer. Chemosite did 3.9k, but it also gives a pretty nice debuff, so it's well worth that slot. My fleet support did not do too well. It did 2k DPS. It got killed a bit early on. And the anti-time entanglement singularity is the tier 5 temporal reputation ability. It would have did a bit more had I hit it on the spheres instead. But not too much more. After that, everything else, just you can see here. Refracting Tetryon Cascades doing a bit more after its recent fix with this latest patch. And Nukara Webbreaker, the one that did activate on the left sphere spawn, did 801 DPS. So that's not really worth the 1500 dill cost for most people, but it's just a min-max thing for runs like this. And now to skim through the other lovely things. Tanking wise, of course, 100% of the team damage. 7.35 attacks in per second. So it's a bit. About 9.7k tanked per second. Let's look at healing. The Kabali Regenerative Integrity Field console, of course, coming out on top. Very powerful console that Cryptic needs to make available to everyone, because currently it's an event-exclusive item that is a massive pain for those that don't have it and want to try to tank. Following that, the Iconian Reputation trait, Energy Refrequencer from Tier 2. 837 healing per second. Pretty good. Scales based on your outgoing damage with your energy weapons. The continuity ability itself gave a nice bit of healing. And you can see the rest. As always, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments section down below. And make sure to keep an eye out on my channel. I will soon be releasing a new guide series, so you want to get good at STO. It will start out with basic things and lead into some more advanced game mechanic and min-maxing subjects.